combining soul. Collaboration's beautiful. Oneself and he that Freddy shining.
I see the rain come down while the sun is shining. I see them dancing to the night. See the rain come down, the sun is shining. Stand at the base of your mountain high, dancing to the night. The skank be the rock in my life. 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 The skank be the rock in my life.
Just to orientate yourselves, that's Mount Robertson. So we're on the seaward side looking at it, but if you were standing up there at the top at the moment, you'd be looking straight down into Picton. So you follow that way around there and you come out at Essence Valley. And if we were to do that today, we'd end up at another one of our cultural redress parts. That's a piece of Rangitani cultural redress land in the so-called Vatican city of Chateaua called Picton. But hey, that's another trip when we talk about the next part. So this is the end of the 20 square mile reserve that we never got, but it's important to say that. So it's from the mouth of the river 10 miles along the coast and to here. This place is called Otauira. The reason why I love this place is because in 1847, in the map, there's a map in the handout, just faintly in the background, after we'd been subjugated and enslaved and murdered and all those other legends we heard during the hearing, the Pākehās arrived here because they'd run out of land over in Nelson where they'd robbed all the people over there. A lot of the settlers over there found out they could only farm their land when the tide went out. So they were a bit short of land, so they arrived over here. And they'd found out in 1843 that the natives over here had a bit of a deal going where the locals would pull the pegs out, and then when the settlers picked a fight, well, the Kazis from Porirua would come over and patu everyone. And so after there was a period of calming down happened, about 1847, a group of surveyors came down here looking for land to buy. And they came to this very place, and Lagar was the surveyor, and he wanted to find out what the extent of the warau was so they could purchase it. They'd already purchased in 1846, I think, down the Kapra Tahoe from Ngāti Toa and Porirua, but it wasn't quite giving them the detail they wanted, so they came here. The head man of the village was a man recorded in the report called Ihaia Kaikoura, and it sort of pretty much states that they arrived here at Otauira. There was about 25 people here. The community was comprised of the conquerors and their slaves. And then it notes that, however, one of the former slaves seems to have acquired much influence and should be considered as the head man of the settlement. And on all occasions when I asked questions, they deferred to him. And Lagar, of course, was a surveyor, and so he starts asking about all the landmarks. And so Ihaia Kaikoura, I guess, did pretty much what I did, but he drew a line in the sand. So they were probably down there where there's some sand, I guess. The land's changed a bit. And the map is, the map on Sue's Facebook page that she put up, that map is Kaikoura's map. We never ever knew it existed until David Armstrong found it. So the power of historians. Sometimes you can chew through the legend.
Have the last word.
And so David Armstrong, he found a copy of Lagar's map, which helped us out because it actually showed that in 1847 the Wairau went all the way around down past Paranui or Whiti, and all the places were named. So I thought we should come here and finish off. This was a settlement where people lived. Over there are Kumara Gardens, and the road just cut straight through it. And when it came settlement time, Ngāti Toa and Rangitane, as a consequence of Lagar's map, were both keen to have a piece of land here. And so there were two bits. There was that terrace flat over there that also had been a living and cooking area, and there was this obvious one there. And we talked to Doc, and we decided that, oh well, we're here anyway, and so if our cousins from Ngāti Toa wanted to have this one, well, we were quite happy for them to have them. We'll have that scrappy old, well-maintained flat there. And it was funny, so our cousin Matt Ray comes over to have a look at their new piece of cultural redress land, and he sees that pylon there. And of course, as you know, pylons have got a sort of a beaten zone. You're not allowed to do anything in them. So he rang me up and he said, oh, hey, do you want to swap your piece? He goes, oh, well, you know, after all, he says, it's really a Rangitane past site, so maybe we'll have that other piece and you have this. I said, no, it's okay, cuz. So all of us, and I guess that's been the point of Pete's whakapapa included, all of us are connected to those people that are named in Lagar's report. They're all on that whakapapa. They're the people that were living here at the time. So at 1847, Wairau had become one group. And while we still had a few names for people, we'd realised that there was a new economy coming, and unless we worked together, it was going to turn to potatoes. Some of us still haven't learned that lesson, and some of us have.
Or grapes, one of the two.
Oh, yeah. But, so this is on this particular coast, around the Ihaia Kaikoura stuff, this is the last piece of cultural redress land. Over there, that's our piece there, and this is Ngāti Toa's piece, but in the spirit of whanaungatanga, I'm sure they don't mind some of us Ngāti Rāras and Ngāti Kuatas keeping their interest. Cool, Pete.
Do people know about what happened with the original Wairau purchase? Because it's an interesting, I find it's an interesting story about how the Crown was able to play tribes off one against the other. So when the Crown was trying to basically make good on the New Zealand company purchases, the first thing they did was they went to Porirua and they kidnapped Te Rauparaha and they took him up north, and then they got their three younger chiefs, Rawiri Te Puaha, Mātini Te Whiwhi and Tamihana Te Rauparaha. They took them into Port Nicholson, and then they pretty much said to Ngāti Toa, we're going to buy your interest in the Wairau. And they said, yeah, okay, what's the deal? Really, they just wanted Te Rauparaha out of incarceration. So the three Ngāti Toa chiefs signed a deal, and I think it was £2,000 annually for 3 years. And the problem with the deed was it had no boundaries either. So then they went down to Kaiapoi and they said to Ngaitahu, we want to sell your interest north of here. And Ngaitahu said, oh yeah, okay, well we've got a price. Of course, Gray and the company had already come up with a price that they had agreed with, and so that wasn't what Ngaitahu was expecting. So in the end, Ngaitahu said no, and the Crown said it doesn't matter. We've already purchased your interest from Ngāti Toa. And so Ngaitahu were then pretty much, it was a fait accompli. They had to purchase, they sold their interest, and then the Crown basically went round and talked to everybody else, and the last people they came and spoke to were the Rangitanes here and the Ngāti Queers over in Havelock. and pretty much the deal was, doesn't matter, except your £100, the land's already gone. So we didn't actually have much negotiation power. But that's pretty much how the bulk of the South Island was alienated. It was the Crown just going from tribe to tribe, forcing everybody to sell. So that was a slightly separate. There was two sort of arrangements going. There was the purchases and the guarantee of the 20 square mile reserve. Yeah.
And people getting 2 bites of the cherry. Yeah. Selling that they didn't have a right to sell. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they came with a bag of money.
And they didn't even live here. They were in the North Island.
So,
Funny that. Deja
this
vu.
is
Sounds
called
familiar.
Tauira. Up there is called Waikutakuta. And Kutakuta is that cutty flax. And the stream is called Waikutakuta. I don't know where Robinhood lived. I don't think Robinhood.
Yeah, where's the Robinhood name?
But it was a nice name on the day, and it sort of fits the place because there were probably bandits living here.
I think it was out Kaikoura way, parked up on the Mahaki Pole Drive.
Yeah, robbing the rich to pay the rich. You just go over this hill here, and there's a bay called Rangitani Bay. And normally these places are named after ancestors or battles, and it's like when you name your kids, we were joking about it before, you know, what's in a name? Why do you ask? 2 dogs fucking. So Rangitani Bay was named after a battle between ourselves and Ngaitahu. So Ngaitahu were getting the flick from out of Tory Channel, not by Te Aotearoa because they still had about another 200 or 300 years to get here. And there had been a chief called Kurahaupo, and he was sitting on that island as you go through Tory Channel, Moioi Island, and our people were living on Kaihuna. We weren't called Rangitani and Ngāti Koia then, we were called, well us, we were Ngaitara and Ngāmoe and yeah, all of those, Kōpihara and all of those people, Ngaitara Pounamu. Anyway, so this old fella goes out, some of you have probably heard the story, in the old days, the morning ritual, the chief was the first person to use the ablution, and there was a stick like this called a pai. You know that thing the men sit on to talk called a pai? He held over like that, he poked his ass over the end of the cliff, and that was the original long drop. What had happened on that particular morning, I think it was probably more the Ngāti Koia side, this, rather than the Rangitani side. But there was a guy laying inside the latrine, and as he saw this wrinkled old butt poke over the edge, he went like that, and he ran him through. And at that stage, our Ngāti Kuri relations, they decided that the people living here were crazy, and we're out of here. And so they picked up their old fella and they disappeared. And that was around about the time of the so-called fish hook wars, where they were, you know, digging up bones and carving fish hooks and catching fish and inviting them over for a feed and laughing about it. So our Ngaitahu relations are doing a runner along these ridges, and there was some Rangitanis around here in Whites Bay, probably, the ones parked up here, heard they were coming. So they went up the top of the hill, and they were doing this as a bit of a joke, with a reference to the old fella that got hurt, and they actually didn't see that they were travelling in a group of 2, and there was another party out there, and so they got forced out over the other side. There's a bit of a branch point, so they had a bit of a fight, and they gradually got forced to the edge, and well, there was nothing to do but jump in the tide or stay there and get killed. And so we called it Rangitani Bay in reference to the brave stand of the Rangitani warriors against superior odds in an argument that they picked and lost. Ngaitahu, they know it as Whainunu, which is the Battle of the Arseholes, you know, the nungo. And but the cool thing about that story is it's a story about our 2 people here. And when Omaka was first built on one side of Omaka you've got Maru, and on the other side of Omaka you've got Huataki, and you've got the people that have joined them, and that's that story. That's that story. And so in the end we were grabbing Rangitani princesses that were Ngāti Māmoe and Ngaita who was grabbing them, and it was that whole deal of when you're a stranger in town, as Pete's been saying, you solidify your title by grabbing a woman with some real estate. So the front of Omaka Marae, that's about us and Ngaito arriving here, spearing one another up the arse, digging up graves and making fish hooks and feeding the fish to one another, all of that stuff. And it probably would have carried, oh, it has carried on. But that's okay. Because when I look around, we're all Rangitani, Ngāti Koe, a bit of everything, but we've all got a bit of Ngaito in us because we're all South Island. And so I thought that's another part of, sometimes we only see this, but we don't see, unless we put the whakapapa on the land with those stories. Some of you would see Rangitani Bay and not know how the name came to be known, Rangitani Bay. Across the other side where the treaty is, you've got Kurahaupo Island, and our man Ihaia Kaikoura, the head man of this settlement. In 1840 he signed the treaty with Rangihaeta, Te Rauparaha, Nohorua, yeah, so he was sort of up there. He was sort of up there even by then. And we have to say that because he's the only Rangitani in the whole iwi that signed the treaty.
North and south?
North and south,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, in between Rina and Tiote. So, yeah, so that's all. You've now reached the end of the 20 square mile reserve that we never got. The cultural redress bits put us into that. You can come and stay up there, and because of our ongoing marriage through the Greys, you can even come and stay here, but there's a bit of a thing with the radiation. And out at 17 Valley, those who've been to Puka Puka, the kumara that were stored out there, were grown here. They wanted to show that kumara from around the area could be stored in one point as a form of trade. So the kumara there were grown from here, and the gardens are still there. Ka pai?
When we used to have campers used to camp out here, we came down by the river.
Yeah, it was one of our first surfing beaches, because they used to come here and go surfing as young boys because couldn't afford to pay the toll gate to get past Paradui or Footy to go to Mangamani.
Ah.
Obviously you didn't have a very Mangamani.